In this video, I'm going to be discussing why aftermarket parts can be a curse. So what is the curse of the aftermarket? Well, I've encountered recently quite a few companies who make aftermarket stuff that's just like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And one of those companies I just made a video about was the steering parts from Apex Chassis. They built this really rugged steering kit, which is, the tie rod ends, drag link, but they just biffed it in some very weirdly specific ways. Like the clearance with an OEM stabilizer does not work unless your truck is lifted, which they don't tell you. Their grease boots fail at a ridiculous rate and just make a huge mess everywhere. Their joints do fail at double the length of time of OEM, but the kit costs twice as much as OEM. That's just like one example. Another company I'll mention by name on here because I think people should know is SPE. And honestly, Snyder Performance Engineering, they have a lot of cool parts. They do a lot of cool shit, but on some of their stuff, it's like, why didn't you just think this through? Like the CCV catch can that they have, because of inconsistencies in the block, they tell you need to grind down part of the catch can. It's like, what? There can't be that big of inconsistencies in the block. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Then on top of that, personal experience, I bought the SPE transmission cooler lines for the Power Strokes for the 6R140s because, we have steel lines, they rot. Got the kit, incredible quality, like the fittings are great. The braided cooler line hose is really nice. Like, I'm going to keep running the kit, but we installed it and then one of their O-rings, their rubber O-rings failed and I had to get a new set of O-rings. And then when I had the transmission out, when I was doing my oil pan, I had to, basically redo the cooler lines when they attach to the pan to fix that seep and that leak. And so it's just like those little things. It's like somebody didn't think about it, and you run into that stuff that kind of, it adds up. And if you do enough, modifications, it's just going to add up and you're going to have something that's hard to work on. This channel is sponsored by Arch Oil. Use the code PSM10 to get yourself 10% off of any anti-gel additives you'll need for this winter at archoil.com. Even doing the HSM upper fuel filter, I honestly feel like changing the plastic upper filter was easier for me and cleaner. It was less of a mess than doing the spin filter, because the spin filter, when you take it off, like the top metal piece just dumps fuel everywhere, versus those lines, when you unplug them from the plastic filter and bent them back, would keep the fuel, and then you could take out the plastic one by tilting it up and bringing it back. And so that could also be my issue too. But again, it's just all these little issues you get from aftermarket parts. And yes, they solve a problem, right? Like, I would rather have a metal spin-on filter, upper filter and lower, water separator, and not have to deal with the plastic and worrying about it exploding or catching on fire or whatever. But you're gonna get this baggage whenever you do aftermarket stuff. I mean, same thing goes with tuning your truck, right? Like, there's a lot of people who tune their trucks and then proceed to have transmission issues, they have differential issues, they have, weird engine issues, and you can definitely get that stuff by having OEM, but I think there's this idea that you just have to put a bunch of aftermarket mods, just get rid of all the OEM stuff, put all the aftermarket stuff on because they know best, and that's not always the case. So the reason I wanted to make this video is I know you specifically probably watch my channel because you're interested in what modifications to do on your truck. And what I want to warn you about is it's worth definitely thinking about whether you want the associated problems with that modification, right? And there's a lot of stuff where you don't have issues. S&S Disaster Prevention Kit. S&S makes really good aftermarket stuff, better than OEM if you're getting the DCR pump. Beware of that curse of the aftermarket, that it is not a silver bullet. You're gonna get baggage with this stuff. It's not all perfect. There's definitely a lot of companies out there doing great stuff, but there is a lot of companies doing stuff that just it has its gaps. You know what I mean? And I'm not, again, saying any of these companies are doing something bad. I think like SPE's transcooler lines are awesome, and I'm going to run those because they're a good quality product, but they just had an issue, right? It's not a silver bullet. The Apex chassis steering kit, super rugged and durable. You can beat the heck out of it, but the Ninja washers are a pain to work with. The joints also will fail eventually, and you have clearance issues with your stabilizer. I like doing mods. I like going and making videos about trying stuff, but there definitely is, you know, there's issues that you're gonna have with the aftermarket stuff too. And you know, it's expensive. A lot of this aftermarket stuff is like double the cost of OEM. So you really could argue, you know, do you stick with the OEM stuff and just replace it more often, or do you put up with the extra headaches of aftermarket parts? Beats me. I appreciate you being here, and please subscribe if you have not already. We will see you next time here on Power Stroke Maintenance. Cheers.